the shack up on the screen, we have an illustrious DXer station, Al Rovner station, and it looks very neat. I'm jealous. Mine is not a bit like that, but it just shows you what you can do great things with not. I mean, I have more equipment than that, but more of it's broken too, under the bench waiting to get fixed, things like that. But anyway, just to give you an idea of what other people's stations look like, that's why I initiated this, and I hope to bring you a new one every month for the rest of my term, and we'll see some interesting stations. So let's start the meeting. As I said, this is the July meeting, and welcome to everyone. And I hope you are all having a good summer. So as always, I'd like to see if we have any new hams. Do we have any new hams in the audience or new members? Okay, please stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself. Call when you're licensed.
Yeah. Dave Flynn, just got my technician license. Got brand new radios. I don't have a clue. So, I spent 8 years as a search and rescue pilot, 40 years as an air traffic controller, retired. I'm looking for things to do.
Well, you found a good source of things to do, and there's plenty of people here to give you pointers in a hand. So feel free to ask.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think we have another one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Holm, and I got my technician license about a year ago, but I've been really busy. And I'm an emergency manager. I work for the Oregon Health Authority, supporting all the hospitals and healthcare entities in 6 counties in Oregon, but I live in Vancouver and really mostly work from home. And I have other radios that I barely know how to use. But I'm still struggling. So I do need help anyway. Thank you very much.
Welcome, and thank you. And just for all the rest of you members, I know she has a Yaesu FT60R that I'm sure she could use some help if anybody's willing to help teach her how to program it, set it up.
Program them all the time. Hi, I'm Kevin Byer, K7VI. I am not a new ham. Mostly HF, been with the club for about 3 months, finally got to a meeting. Also the 7th area QSL manager, thanks to the guys here who do QSLs, do the sorting. Great to be here with the club. So good evening, everybody.
Well, welcome. We're glad you finally could join us.
Kevin, are you going to be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow for the contest?
Are there any other new hams or new club members?
7 o'clock, maybe.
In the back?
My name's Pete Bishop. I've been a ham for a little over a year. I got my general in July of last year, I think it was. And KK7 Mike Foxtrot Echo. Some people hear me say echo, echo, echo. That's what I do on one of the nets that I play on in the morning. But anyway, I've been a member of this club since about Christmas. So last year, 23. But first time I introduced myself here.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you. And for all the new hams, please feel free to, and new members, feel free to look at the website. We have a lot of activities. We have several nets that are regular, and just listen in if you don't want to speak yet until you feel comfortable, but we encourage you to participate. All the repeater info is on the website at the bottom of every page, so you have all the numbers you need to program in. Okay, are there any new upgrades or awards or certificates anybody's received? No new license upgrades, huh? Okay. Now, next we have, we were notified about a silent key. those of you, I didn't know the man, but Jerry Shue, K7KWO. He's a past president, longtime member of the club. I believe that picture is of him in the Gee Creek coffee stop that the club used to run on I-5. And if there's anybody out there that knew him that would like to maybe say a word or two, I would appreciate it. The club has sent a condolences to the family, so we've been in touch. Yes. Good, Delvin.
Yeah, Jerry was a longtime ham, I believe a general and avid scouter for many, many years. That's where I first bumped into him, and we got along very, very well. He would teach others to work with their radios. The last I saw him, he was pulling his station apart, and we went over, I think we were there too. There were about 5 of us that took down several antennas and stuff, and he was not looking healthy at that time, but lived a few more years. He'll be a lot for the community, but great guy.
Thank you, Delvin. Rick?
Yeah, I came to this club in '06, and Jerry approached me. He was notorious for getting volunteers. He goes, "Hey, I'm glad to meet you. You want to run for vice president, don't you? Don't you?" And that's just the kind of fellow he was. He was very friendly, and he's just a great guy.
Thank you, Rick. That sounds like a tactic I might need to employ. We are looking for vice president candidates, so for next year. Any other remembrances? Yeah, like I said, I never met him, but everything I've heard indicated that he was a good ham, valued member and a nice guy. So thank you all. Okay, now we come to the business part of the meeting. The leadership working group recently amended the club bylaws to put in the correct street address for state reasons. We're a state nonprofit corporation, I guess. I'm not sure of the exact term. And they require a street address. And our previous street address that was being used was a club member's address that is not attending so much anymore. And so we arranged to get a street address. A vote of the members is needed to accept the amended bylaws, and at least 10% of the membership needs to be here. Last count, we had 45 in the room and 14 on Zoom, which is quite a bit more than 10%. So we're covered there. And on the next slide, you'll see the actual change. It's just the first paragraph. So our current address, street address, is actually the address of the post office where our post office box is, and that's a legal way to go. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to vote and to accept and second. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Got the gavel. And
He's been waiting to use that all year.
that's right. Anyway, so we have accepted the amended bylaws, and it's being noted, I'm sure, in the official minutes in the recording. So thank you all for taking care of business. Now for a few general announcements. Half price for new members if you join in June, July, or August. It's half price for the rest of the year. And club social media accounts. As some people don't even know that the club has social media accounts, but we do. Facebook and I don't even know it all. I'm not on Facebook, YouTube, maybe Twitter. Anyway, they were not very well run. They were kind of ignored. They weren't used very well. Well, we have a new volunteer, Seamus Ross, who is here in 7NYW, has volunteered to help manage them. So you'll start seeing more presence on the YouTube videos being posted, and most of them will be accessible through the club website. Some of them may be put on the public, just open to the public website too. But you should see some more activity on Facebook and other social media accounts, and we have Seamus to thank for that. So thank you, Seamus. We appreciate it. And this should really help the club reach out and maybe engage some younger people, get them interested and say, hey, look what's here. So feel free to talk it up, those of you who do participate in the social media activities. Okay, now change of plans. Yes. Sure. There he is. So a change of plans, we were notified that our speaker was booked as didn't make it. So we have a video of the Camas High School International Space Station Contest. So I hope you enjoy it.
Alright guys, we're gonna try to contact the space station for a third time. Hopefully this should be it, and pass is gonna happen in the next 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned and find out. Meanwhile, please smash that like and subscribe.
We're live! And post in the comments, what do you think of this?
1,000 subscribers.
Okay. In fact, we can double it to 2,000.
3,000 likes and I'll do this again.
Oh my god. Actually, that is really valid.
Okay.
If we get 3,000 likes, we do a lot of
okay,
things.
hear me.
Alright, over the horizon.
Yeah.
November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India.
I want to remind you all, there's no editing of this, so you're going to hear it raw.
November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India.
Oh, that's good then. That's good.
November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. Alright, approaching 5 degrees. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. Coming in sight. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, this is Kilo Kilo 7 November Papa India. Well, let's go! Okay. Alright, hello, we're calling from Camas High School. Thank you for taking your time to be here, and we have some rapid fire questions for you. Can you start asking?
You should just ask like a test. Can you hear
Alright,
us or something?
who's the funniest person in the space station and what did they do?
Did you ever get lost in the space station?
You know, I can almost say I was lost during All right, thank you, and stand by for our second operator.
Hello, I'm Kilo Kilo 7, Romeo Juliet India, and my question is, what is your most stressful experience in space?
If he says the most.
I think my most special experience was doing spacewalks. I did that on my first mission, and I'm about to do that in about a week again.
Well,
so I'm really looking forward to putting on that suit and going outside. Over.
All right, and to you, what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life? Well, I could answer with the ultimate question to life, the universe, and everything, which is 42, but and making it happen. I find a lot of joy in being up here and a lot of meaning in that as well. Over.
All right, stand by for next operator.
Stand by.
Hello, this is Kilo Kilo 7, Quebec Hotel Zulu, and my first question for you is, what was your most awkward moment in space?
Probably the most awkward was during my first spacewalk when I was up at the top of a crane trying to take pictures downward, and my fingers and my glove didn't coincide, and I couldn't take any pictures, so that was pretty awkward. Over.
Okay, and my other question is, what's the most useful thing you've taken away from high school?
Wow. Well, I was inspired by a lot of amazing teachers. You guys may know Dale Croswell, but Jerry McGraw, Dean Gray, Cecil Fleischman, these guys that taught me how to read, how to write, and how to speak other languages. Those are skills that have stayed with me ever since, and I remember those guys implicitly. Over.
Okay, thank you. Stand by for next operator.
Stand by.
Hi, this is Kilo Kilo 7, November Papa Juliet, and my question for you is, can you burp in space?
You know, we don't burp up here because there's no gravity and no separation of the stomach fluids and the gas, so you don't form this gas bubble under your esophagus. So you don't really burp. You definitely fart a lot, but you don't burp. Over.
Nice. Speaking of that, how does the space station smell? And
Well, it smells totally normal to us. It smells like home right now, but when new people show up, the first thing they say after saying hello is, "What's that smell?" Over.
Stand by for the next operator.
Stand by.
When you came back to Earth from your first trip, did you drop anything or do something by habit that people in 1G normally don't do?
Oh yeah, I mean, my first night back, I woke up in the middle of the night and I wanted to fly to the bathroom, and I realized only after turning on the lights that I can't do that. So that muscle memory of being in zero gravity stays with you for a while. Over.
Hope you were good that day. Stand by for a second operator.
Standing by.
I put it on pause here for a minute because in the next minute or so, I'm going to get really nervous. You see, all the questions they've been asking so far, they went through with the teachers and other people to sort of make sure they had them all handled. But we ran out of questions. So they started ad-libbing. I've raised 3 kids, and I'll tell you, when they start ad-libbing, I always worry.
This is Kilo Kilo 7, Romeo Juliet India, and my question is, what is the funniest moment in space?
The funniest moment to me happens when I've been up here for a while and I see new people arrive and try to get used to zero gravity and fly around and bump into things and get totally disoriented all the time. Over.
What was your most stressful experience on the space station?
Most stressful, it's probably doing the spacewalks when the stakes are really high. Everybody's watching everything you do on TV, and you're kind of out there at the edge of your technology and survival and everything. It's an amazing experience, exhilarating, amazing, joyful, and a little bit terrifying as well. Over.
All right, stand by for next operator.
Standing by.
Okay, this is Kilo Kilo 7, Quebec Hotel Zulu, and what's one question do you have for us?
Well, let's see. My question for you would be, do you realize what an amazing place you live in, the Pacific Northwest, Southwest Washington and being able to go to Camas. I hope you realize that, because every time I think about that, I realize what an amazing childhood and life I had growing up there, and I learned a lot that stayed with me forever. Over.
Stand by for next operator.
Stand by.
To answer that question, it is a fantastic place in Camas. We get the pleasure of talking to an astronaut that came from Camas, and
The teachers are awesome.
Yeah.
So
So is the principal. Yeah.
and everyone that helped make this possible, including our local Clark County amateur radio group. And this is a fantastic contact.
That's great. I just envisioned this new generation of teachers and principals. I have to wonder how many of those are in the room when you said that, but I bet they really are awesome. Over.
Wait, actually, should we answer? All right, there's 4, and stand by for next operator.
Stand by.
Go for it.
Hi, this is Kilo 7, November Papa India, November Papa Juliet, and I was gonna ask, which trip did you enjoy more, the first or the second trip?
You know, it's hard to compare. It's like 2 or 3 of your favorite foods. My first trip was on a Russian Soyuz, and I stayed for 200 days. My second trip was on one of the last shuttle missions, and I flew with 5 of my closest friends, and it was only for 2 weeks. They both had their absolute pleasure points, and boy, I wouldn't trade either one of them. I wouldn't try to compare them. So they were both great, and this one's great too. Over.
Alright, yeah, stand by for the next operator.
Standing by.
All right, I think we only have time for one last final question. So my question is, what does things taste like in space?
You know, the food's good up here. Some people say that things taste a little bit different because your head gets kind of congested with the zero gravity. But the chow is good, and we can eat a lot more food up here without gaining weight than we do on the ground. So it's a lot of camping food and military rations, but the our NASA food guys go out of their way to make things taste really, really good. So as soon as I leave here, we're having a big crew dinner tonight. All 9 of us around the table eating Russian food and European food, Japanese food, and American food, and I got nothing wrong with the chow up here. Over.
What's your favorite song that you've played in space?
Gabriel from the movie Wall-E. Over.
Oh, that's so clever. Wait, what do we ask? We're out of questions.
All right, what is your favorite food in space?
That's a tough call. I'll give
If you
you
guys think of one, go for it.
shrimp cocktail, which is a U.S. food. The lamb stew, which is a Russian food. There's another thing which doesn't translate well into English called porkzerekami, which is kind of a cottage cheese with nuts. It's also Russian. And there's a Japanese
we're going to the bar.
soup and a curry up here that are just to die for. And you can't get them on the planet. Over.
Oh, you're making me jealous. And who's your favorite person at the space station?
Boy, I'm kind of in charge up here, so I really can't say. Over.
Ask a question.
Last one.
Okay. This is Kilo 7 Quebec Hotel Zulu, and our last question is, what's the coolest thing you've done on the ISS?
I think overall the coolest thing
we could squeeze a bit more.
is just being able to see some of the science experiments for the very first time, because you're the first one to see results of these experiments that took years and millions of dollars to make, and you are right there seeing the results. For me, it's the medical stuff, especially with my background. So I got to admit, that is the coolest thing, especially when you're talking to this scientist who put this thing together, and they're like just giddy as anything with the results you have. I mean, that pumps you up pretty much. Over.
Thank you so much for the contact. I think we all really enjoyed it. And do you have any final message?
I think we lost it. It's over. I think it's over. Yeah.
That's Bill Horizon. Let's go, guys! Let's go! Go, Henry! Let's go!
That was so cool.
Yeah, Dave, thank you. You did most of the actual legwork on this and coordinating, and we really appreciate it.
Got some questions? Go ahead. So this is the equipment that we use is stuff that I use every day for my own satellite stuff. It was an ICOM 9700. And it turned out the way it was programmed, I have the two VFOs, and it turned out that we actually operated simplex on a frequency that's fairly secure. It's in the ham band, but they don't publicize it, so it's sort of secret. Because there are people who do bad behavior, and when they know a contact is scheduled, they get on and interfere. So it was actually a 2-meter simplex frequency. The Doppler shift at 2 meters with this shuttle was less than 5 kilohertz. In this pass, it was 3.5 kilohertz. So we didn't have to mess with the Doppler shift at all. When you're running the crossband repeater on the space station, if you program 5 consecutive memories of the appropriate Doppler shifts, you can just click from one to the other during the pass, and it works just fine. And these students knew how to do that because they had been using the ISS crossband repeater for practice for the week or so before we actually did the pass. So, and it's funny too, because they went on the web and they found a whole bunch of examples, and the examples on the web were wrong. They had the same polarity Doppler shift for both frequencies, the uplink and the downlink. And they've got to be opposite. So in other words, when the satellite's approaching you, you have to set your frequency to higher because the wave is compressing. But when you transmit, you have to set your frequency lower so that the compression is compensated. So they found all these examples on the web, and they were telling me that these were right. And so I had to sit down, and we had quite the discussion about Doppler shift. And when they realized how it actually worked, it was pretty nice. Now, what we don't see here is that these students built an azimuth elevation rotor system. But it's like most things that you do for the first time. It wasn't quite up to working at 100%. But they did a pretty amazing job. What we'd like to do is early next year, we may have them actually come and do a presentation about some of the stuff they've done if we can arrange it. Tom, another question? No, this question was, are there more scheduled contacts? The answer is no. You're very fortunate to get one, let alone any others. The last time I did this, we waited 18 months to actually get a contact through. This one, from the time the students applied until we got it, was less than 4 or 5 months. And that really had to do with the Michael Barrett effect. The fact that he was an alumni from Camas High School, I'm sure, played a major role in it. Delvin. I think they would. I think that'd be an excellent presentation for them to do. Yep. No, that's a great idea. I'll reach out. You know, they're all in the ozone for the next 3 months or 2 months. But when they get back to school, they were all sophomores and freshmen. There were no seniors in this bunch. So yeah. So anyway, yes, Randy. So the actual pass was almost 13 minutes, and it was almost a direct overhead pass, not quite. The problem with direct overhead passes is as you're rotating the antennas, you have to sort of like go like this real fast in 30 seconds. But this one was about 55 degrees, so it was real nice. The kids, so one of the students on the end of the table, that was his job. He was running the rotor and watching the computer and keeping it lined up the whole time. But it wasn't that demanding a job that he couldn't take his shot at talking. So that worked out pretty well. Yeah, back in the back. So we were there at 6:30 in the morning getting set up for an 8 o'clock pass. So these students called for 15 minutes at about 30 and no answer. No answer at all, AM. Then there was another pass roughly 90 minutes later, and we called that entire pass, no answer. And that was the arranged time was the one at like 8:30. So I called the AMSAT ARRL coordinator and said, hey, what gives? So he emailed the astronaut through the network system up to the space station, and they responded because Mike Barrett had been assigned a task. He talked about going into the storage unit, If any of you have ever watched the NASA channel and seen a picture of this storage unit, it's a 12 to 14 feet in diameter. It's 20 feet deep, and it's loaded full of crap that just floats all around. Some of it Velcro to itself, some of it's Velcro to the walls. But when you go in there to look for something, you have no idea where it's actually going to be. And they had to go in and look for some items that they were going to use in the spacewalk. And so he and another astronaut spent over 2 hours in there trying to locate the items for the spacewalk, and that was a higher priority than talking to the high school students. So when we actually made contact, the NASA coordinator talked Mike into skipping part of his dinner time he was talking about having the big dinner with all the astronauts. So he put off that time to actually make the QSO with the astronauts. So we sort of scrambled and saved it, but it wasn't looking too promising the first couple of tries. So it was a pretty emotional day for everyone. The actual pass that we talked to him, I think, was 12:30 or 1 o'clock. So it was a very, very long day. Plus, we'd been out there the day before getting ready. I'm sure they do. I don't know that we've actually talked about it. I'll reach out. I'll reach out to Joe and do that. I showed all of them my QSL card from the cosmonauts. So when we were talking about doing this, I have a QSL card from the Mir space station where all the cosmonauts signed it. So I did show them that bling. Yeah. Yeah, they designed and built a azimuth elevation rotor system. There's freshmen and sophomores. Dave and Jason went and looked at their 3D printer lab. What one word did you use to describe that lab? It is. They must have 30 3D printers in there or more. And they 3D printed all the parts. They bought little stepper motor electronics, and they have worm gears, and they even went out and they got little like Raspberry Pi board to actually control the tracking. Got some freebie software off the web to do it and everything like that. It's pretty amazing actually what they put together. They're going to be some very capable engineers at some point in their life. You know, Al, Al's point's pretty valid. I built a 2-bit adder in the 9th grade out of scrap parts from the telephone company's trash bin. I got 3rd place in the science fair because the people judging had no idea what a 2-bit adder was. So I don't think we could have done quite the same thing, but I think a lot of people in this room could have done something comparable at the time. Any? Okay, I think we're up for Lewis and Clark on the air.
Hi, I'm Marilyn. As you know, our club does Lewis and Clark Trail on the Air, an event that ended the middle of June. Anyway, I am here now to give you some statistics of how things went and to pass out a few certificates to the people that activated. This year, we had 37,362 QSOs come in for Lewis and Clark Trail on the Air. That is a third more than we had last year. That is a lot of contacts. Our club alone logged 2,500 or 2,507 QSOs, just our club. And that is a 62% increase over last year. There were 14,326 hams that were hunting for activating clubs. This is 22% increase over last year. As you can see, this event has really hit a lot of people. There's something about Lewis and Clark that everybody loves, and we were really able to get something going here. We have, at this point, as of right now, turned in $2,200 to the club. It's only been a month since the event ended. So we're still getting people that want certificates. The certificates are gorgeous. If you if you do events because you like the certificates, which is what I do, you're going to want this certificate. They are really, really nice. Anyway, we had activators, and I've got certificates for the activators. Tom Barton, WB7TZD. I've got it here. We can get, oh, thanks. Is John Niehaus here? KI7QCZ. Whoever isn't here for the today to pick it up, we will be mailing them. Stan Nelson, KF7OJA. Thanks, Jason. Randy Walker, K7NOJ. Bern Peters, KB7AK. Barbara Yassin, AC7UH, she's at the YLRL convention. Kevin Beer, K7VI. Gary Gerhardt, K7BSO. Justin Crooks, AI7SG. Is he here? Okay. There it is. And the ones that made the most contacts for us, Rick Smith, KT7G, who did 201 contacts. Wayne Schuler, AI9Q, who did 330 contacts, and he's not here. He's also on the committee. Tim Coleman, who is not here, did 394 contacts. Al Rovner, and Al, you're the call sign on this is incorrect, so we'll have to get you another one too. He did 459 contacts. He's in the very back. And our top person, who happens to be sitting right here, Rick Aragon, NE70, who did 579 contacts. Yeah. Anyway, these are all the people that activated for our club only. There were clubs all over the country. We tried to get 2 clubs per state. There were only 4 states that we did not have 2 clubs for. And everybody, we got more compliments on this event. There was only one stinker that was not happy with us out of all of the people that were activating. So we felt like we did really well. So we will be getting together again and making plans for next year. This is an ongoing event. So get ready for next year. It's the first 2 weeks of June is what the event is.
Thank you, Marilyn. Now we're looking for some comments on CPAC from Mr. Delvin Bunton here.
Delvin, NS7U. I was chair of CPAC this year. Yeah, a month and a half ago. Let me back up. I think the event went well. We were 3 people shy of last year's numbers, and next year we can increase on that. We'd like to get somewhere around 2,000. We had top ARRL leadership there, and that was greatly appreciated. That CEO did not make it because he was busy dealing with the incursion to the league's web and other things. The main reason I wanted to come tonight, however, was to thank all of you who attended and also ask for some help. I took on a new assignment, including, well, I'll still do seminars and workshops, and Toby will help with that. But I'm also going to be dealing with exhibitors because we had some issues with that, and we wanted to change the way we're handling exhibitors. So I would welcome 1 or 2 people who would be willing to help me. The 2 tasks would be space planning on the main floor for the exhibitor area, and also dealing with the contracts and stuff, which means sending out emails and contracts and that sort of thing. So there's opportunities. I would say that most of the space planning needs to be done well before the convention, and the contracts, same thing, because we like to know who's coming. And there's a third part that is dealing with the move in, move out, and that's at the convention. And I'll deal with that a little bit later. So if anybody is willing and interested in getting involved in CPAC, we would welcome you a great deal. Our club gets quite a bit of money from that. I was at a meeting on Wednesday, and they haven't worked out the division yet, but it'll be several $1,000s at least. So that's a fair chunk of change to help support our various events and activities. And I got to say, I thank you to Bruce for doing the security things. That is most helpful indeed. So any questions or volunteers? So I can talk with some of you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Delvin. And yeah, for those of you who attended, you know, and those who haven't, CPAC is a great event, and it is definitely volunteer driven and very worthwhile. So we encourage everybody to consider at least, you know, they say many hands make light work. And so the more the merrier. Each person doesn't have to overload himself. Next up, I'd like to have Rick Aragon give us a little blurb on what he did a couple weekends ago, or last weekend, or whenever it was.
How's everybody doing? We were out at Pomeroy Farm. We had the club was invited out there to show our wares and give explanation on ham radio. One of the original owners out there was licensed by the club years ago, and she's very charged about ham radio. So she invited us out apparently a few years now, and we just now got back in there. It was a marvelous weekend on the 6th and 7th. Marilyn was out there, and Tom Barton was out there with me, and we explained to people, you know, a lot of them had question marks. Well, what does ham radio do? Well, what do you want it to do? You know, basically. And a lot of it was on emergency services. We talked about ARES, about the group that provides emergency communications for the county, which is an offshoot of our club. And a lot of interested people. We talked to probably 40, 50 people out there. And if the adults weren't interested, the kids were, you know. We got a little bit late to start getting the HF because I couldn't get, my plan was to get my truck close to where we were at because I got a screwdriver antenna on my truck. And once we got the okay to get the truck up there, we hooked up 991, Yaesu 991 to it. And for the HF side, and I had a, what is that? 100, FT 100 M for on the VHF, UHF side. Communications out there was pretty good. It was a little scratchy on 2 meters, but we heard a lot of people working the states on 13 colonies. So it was a pretty good day. Sunday, it being hot, the numbers kind of dwindled down on Sunday, but I think it's a good thing for us, the club, to do is go out there because the farm itself, if you're not aware about Pomeroy Farm, it's really community based. They offer a lot of services out there. They do weddings out there. They sell wine out there and coffee and tea and all kinds of stuff. It's a full-fledged farm, so it's got animals and horses and what have you. So the kids are amused as well. So, but yeah, I thought it was a great experience. I was really pumped about it. And I think in the future, we'll probably spend more time out there. I'd like to get ARES out there too at the same time, get a couple guys from ARES out there to show their wares too, because there was a lot of interest in that. So, but that's basically it. Any questions? Yeah. Oh yeah, everybody else was out in the heat, and they gave us there's a gathering room down there. It's one of the old buildings out there, it's a gathering room, and it was air conditioned. So everybody was we had kind of a lot of people running to us, you know, if you get out to eat, you know, and so it was kind of good. Yeah. Yeah, very, very, very. Yeah. um, I was, like I said, I was very impressed with the place because it's real based around the community, you know, in teaching and instruction, history, what have you, and they include all the kids too. It's really great. Um, they have a lot of volunteers like we do. They have a lot of part-time help out there that they pay, so they have local people working for them. So it's a great place. I can't speak highly enough about it. So if you ever get a chance, get on their website. They have a website, and see what activities they got scheduled out there, and go out there and spend the day out there, because it's great. That's it. I got.
Thank you. Oh,
Okay. All right. I guess Seamus has got some stuff from gonna put on social media. So, okay, look for that.
you're gonna be famous, Rick. Hey, we have some events coming up. The next big one is the club picnic, which is August, and it's in lieu of a meeting. So we will not be having a Friday night meeting. This year, it'll be the Saturday before, the first Saturday of the month. Location to be determined. Oh, at Al Louis. Okay, it's going to be at Al Louis' place. And I'm sure further word will be coming out about arrangements and when they're made. So remember, no meeting the second Friday, picnic on the first Saturday. Put it on your calendar.
So it runs, typically starts around 9:30 and runs to about 1. So it's early in the day. We try to take advantage of the shade that's out at his place, and the club provides brats and hamburgers and condiments, and everybody else brings a dish to pass. So and we provide the soft drinks and the water and stuff as well.
And the cake too.
Yes, and the cake.
Okay, next up we have some field day follow-up from Dave. Take it away.
So I had a bit of a loss to come up with adjectives for this year's field day. And I've looked through as many of the records as I can for the club's field day, and nowhere in any of the records that I see where this club ever did 2,000 QSOs. And someone might correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks to me like we outdid any club's previous record for us. So from all the measures of field day, we've done a super job this year with field day. We had new radios for the 5 stations. They worked extremely well. Al Rovner made a very good observation, who's had a lot of experience running multi-stations on his DXpeditions. We had very little interstation interference, even when 2 stations were on the same band. We did take a little discipline to get the GOTA station to be on one end of the band and the run station on the other end of the band. But even when they were on the same band, running sideband, there was very little interference. So the buying those new radios, besides all the FT8 features and all the CW features and all the recording stuff, it made a real difference for us to operate at field day with that, and it turned out extremely well. Greg Schuster built us a couple more monkey huts, with the exception of trying to get you guys all to learn how to put them up and take them down. They went very, very well. I can't say enough good about Lori Aragon and the support that she grabbed together to help do all the food and coordinating that. That was probably the smoothest food. And the way I measure that is how many requests I get for panics. I don't think I got any panic requests this year with regard to the food. And so that's super great in my book, as the one who sort of coordinates a lot of it. So, even more importantly, nearly all the radios were active all the time. You know, if we're going to go and buy 5 radios and set up 5 stations, we damn well want to be using them. And we did a very good job of that. Almost all of them were extremely well utilized. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. All right, so the measure of success of field day has to do with how proficient we were at doing the various tasks they expect of us. Now, a big part of field day isn't about making QSOs. A big part of field day is about bringing public attention to our operation, education. And so this year we got 2,325 bonus points. We got every bonus point we could get with the exception of the media coverage. Now, the ARRL changed the rules for that. It used to be if I submitted proof that we told a newspaper or a radio station or a TV station about it, that was good to get our media. This year, the rule is we have to actually submit proof of them broadcasting or putting on a public event page or something with regard to that. And so we were unable to get that 100 points. But that is the only thing we missed. We were in a public location. We did the section manager message. We sent a communication to the section manager. Phil Yasin, as always, grabbed the W1AW Field Day Bulletin. We had formal messages. We had Mark Lakey let us a solar cell and a real nice lithium phosphor battery. And we actually ran the satellite and VHF station almost entirely the whole time off the battery. So, and that's one of the things we might think about. How many solar panels do we need to actually run everything off solar panels instead of the generator? Might be sort of a future project for us. John, you had a question. It is really hard. It is really hard to get any of the media's attention. If any of you ever worked in broadcasting or worked in that, if it bleeds, it leads, and we just don't bleed, folks. Now, maybe if we had the tower fall on us, I'm sure we could get some coverage, but we don't want that kind of coverage. Elected officials, we had many elected officials showed because we sent invitations out to a whole slew of elected officials. We had people from Ridgefield, we had people from Washougal. So we had a lot of elected officials this year. We had the information table. We had the educational activities. We did after action reports. I'm still in the process of compiling some of that. One of the biggest comments was we needed a microphone and speakers for the educational seminar so people could hear better. And so we actually have the equipment. We just never thought to bring it out and use it. So that's on the thing for next year. We had the safety officer. We did get some social media coverage. Cressa tweeted a bunch of stuff about field day. So we got some stuff on there. Plus there were some posts on Facebook and a couple other places. So we had that one covered. The go-to station, we had 575 points. I'll talk a little more about that. We had people coaching there, and we submitted it via the web. Any questions from out on Zoom? Okay, so this is how the QSOs broke down by band and mode. There's something very obviously wrong with this chart. What's the problem here? Anybody see what's really wrong with this chart? That's right. No 20-meter CW. How we overlooked that, I'm not really sure, but that's pretty bad on our part. But the 20-meter station was pretty active. The 40-meter station was very active. Between the two of them, they were our money bands. But look at 15 meters, 300 QSOs. That was primarily Al, which is he's a good CW operator. All in all, we did pretty well on the FT8 on 10 meters as well, which if you look at the FT8 contacts, you know, that right there, the number of FT8 contacts is a very big chunk of the difference between last year and this year. It's not all of it, but it is a very big chunk of it. So having all of those radios FT8 capable made a big difference in our overall operating strategy this year. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, so we have the ability to do that. There's so much going on, and I'm there the full 24 hours, and I'm paying attention to lots of stuff and not that. But you're right. If you know, the way we use N1MN, all of these stations are all networked together. Some people are a little obsessive. They keep pulling up the chart that shows QSOs by person, trying to figure out if they got their 150 this year. Every computer that person was on had the stats chart pulled up for N1MM. I don't know. I don't know who that could be. Anyway, so yes, N1MM allows us to do all sorts of really cool things. I will say this, we have a bit of mystery this year. N1MN magically was attributing me to a lot of QSOs, especially FT8 QSOs, which made other people really mad when they went and checked the stats chart and they weren't in there. It turned out that even though FT8 was showing me, the N1MM was showing me as a person who was operating, the actual ADIF file had the right person in it. So I was able to go back and get the proper counts. So that's still a little bit of a mystery, but N1MM is so robust because every QSO made at every station gets stored on every station. So even if one of the computers go offline for a little bit or something, it's very robust, easy to recover. Overall, we made 2,082 QSOs. And because of the multipliers for the CW and the digital, that's about 6,000 QSO points. And with our bonus points and everything, we're at 8,433 points for this year, and that's about a 25% increase in last year's score. So from a QSO operating perspective, we did a really great job. The only criticism we could even begin to point out is the 20-meter CW. We can address that one pretty easy. Next slide. And this is the one that everybody is hunting for. So the club traditionally gives plaques to people who make 100 QSOs or more at field day. And so this is our list of people who managed to make 100 QSOs. Tim was at the top. Al Rovner was right there. Tom Summers was in the top 3. I'm wondering how that happened. Jason, Maryland got her 150 with 3 extra. I got 118, and the only reason I got 118 is because somebody left the 20-meter station unattended for about a half hour. And I got on and made up the difference between what I made in the satellite and the other. Or otherwise, I wouldn't have been on there this year either. Rick Smith and KJAOL. Okay, this is a perfect example of being willing to be second seat to a lot of people working QSOs, because everybody at that table gets credit for those QSOs. So John, he ended up, he's going to get a plaque this year, and Phil, who traditionally just works CW, and because the night spots he picks sometimes are pretty tough, but this year he worked almost exclusively FT8 and FT4, and he made over 100 QSOs on that. So that's our top contributors by QSO count. Next slide. So final notes. The field day score has been submitted. I am done with that. It takes, between crawling through the logs and fixing little issues and all that, It takes probably 12 hours to actually get the logs submitted when I'm all said and done. And the logs, Rick's got the logs for the GOTA station, and I sent the logs up to Charles for the regular station. So when I talked to Charles and you the other day, Charles said that he's already got 150 or 200 QSOs confirmed. I don't know how you're doing on the GOTA station, but okay. We had some action items. We had a little problem with our 20-meter beam. We're not sure whether it's the beam or the coax or what it is, but we've got to go through, and we got some things to fix up. Our monkey huts, we had a couple grommets get banged around, so we got to fix a grommet or two. And what I did is I split the monkey huts into 2 tubs, 3 huts in each. And so we're in the process of separating the parts and getting a little more organized, so it's not all digging through the bottom of one tote for all the parts. So it should be a little. The only real problem that I'm aware of, and none of the active action reports had anything other. When we got everything taken down, we only had 1 pickup truck. Yes, 1.5 pickup trucks. It takes 3 full pickup trucks to go to the storage unit and back. We had plenty getting everything out of the storage unit, but putting it back, we had to make a couple trips, and so that was probably the only real serious hiccup of field day. That, and somebody left who brought all the pickles? They left all these pickles there too. We had to do something with the pickles. All the volunteers did an absolutely great job. We worked together. This is one of our most successful field day efforts ever. I want to thank all of you who participated and all of you who volunteered, because that's what really made it happen. So, and with that, I think I'm done. One more slide. We always try to highlight an operating event. So starting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. is the International Amateur Radio Union Contest. For some of those who don't know about it, it started, I don't know how many years ago, but they actually, every 4 years, is it, Kevin? That they have people from all the different areas of the world go and compete from the same country with identical setups. Started in the 90s. Yeah, John. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you. All right. Back to the contest. So this has been since the 90s. The premise was, how can someone on the West Coast compete with someone on the East Coast? It's just different. Your proximity to Europe, all this. So they devised this world championship where they would bring teams from all over the world to one country, give them the same antennas, the same setups, have them within, maybe 150-mile radius of the, and they hold this competition. Well, to be the representative from your area, there's 12 or 14 contests that you have to do. And if you score really high, you get to qualify for the contest. For the last several of thee competitions, members of the Willamette Valley DX Club have been the representatives for our area. And it's a set of requirements. You take part in all these contests and they score you and all this other stuff. Anyway, so the contest is tomorrow. It's 24. And because it's sort of centered in Europe, they don't get up real early. So they start at noon, and then, they go 24 hours to the next day at noon. Well, noon in Europe is 5 bloody a.m. here. So for us, the contest starts at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning and goes for 24 hours. The multipliers are the various countries that you work, or the zones that you work, and they have all these things called HQ stations, headquarter stations. So if you work the IRU headquarters in Maryland, you get extra multiplier. If you work the headquarters in Germany, you get extra multipliers. So not only do you work all the ITU zones, but you get multipliers for all these headquarters stations. Take the multipliers, multiply them by your QSO points, that's your total. The report's really easy, 5906, because we're in the 6th zone. Even if you don't want to be a contester, there's going to be a lot of countries on. it is possible to work DXCC in a single weekend if you really try. So, yeah, and that starts tomorrow. Get on, listen in. You phone only, phone and CW. You can do CW. You do digital. It's basically any mode, any way you want to try. That's about it about the conference.
One comment though, if you look closely at the certificate up there, WZ8T
It's a
2023.
very cool certificate. That's all that needs to be said,
Yeah,
Dave.
it's well, it says Zone 6 winner. So just goes to show. Okay. Next up, we have our usual social opportunities. The Thursday breakfast, many of us attend, all are invited. Kitchen table on 136, about 8 o'clock. Always a good discussion. I mean, you never know who's going to be there. It's always a good. John, you have a comment? You're probably right. I wasn't there yet, but thanks for noticing.
What was the question?
The question was, the date on the slide appears to be wrong for the Friday lunch. And yep, it's July 19th. The slide said the 16th. So the lunch this month is at the Canton Chinese Buffet Restaurant. It's on 78th Street, about a block east of Hazeldale Avenue. It's right near the end of the Hazeldale Parade for those of you who've worked disc band there before. Okay, thank you. Yeah, July 19th, 1 p.m. And the lunch is usually a good time. I've heard that that's a very good place to eat. And so come on down. With that, now it's time to move on to the 50-50, and we can end the recording and 50-50. And after the 50-50, please help put chairs away and drive carefully. And we look forward to seeing you all at the picnic coming up in August. If not the lunch next Friday, the 19th, is coming Friday. Thank you very much. Go ahead, James.
$52, and I also have man, you just threw me off. $52 is the price tonight. I'm talking. Oh, the Ola Club members. You remember Jack Barrett, right? Is Michael his nephew? Okay, that's what I thought. That was our connection to the astronaut was Michael Barrett. When Jack Barrett, W7JB, was a longtime member. He's now Silent Key. So that was his nephew. So we had a connection with the Clark County Amateur Radio Club round in circles. We got the kids in the member and then had Jack as a uncle to Michael. Anyway, let's get this money drawn so we can get out of here. And you want to draw a ticket too? Put that pretty thing down. There you go. $52. Before I start, I don't want anybody to change. Good. I have to check from now on. Well, okay, tonight the number last four is 5577. 5577. Young man, come on up and get $52. And you are once again?
Sean McTimpany.
Okay. Here's the, hey. Oh, speaking of badges, once again, the badge machine is broke. We're in the process, the board's in the process of obtaining another one. So give us about 3 months to start making badges again. All right, I need one more ticket for the second prize is a 6-volume set of handbooks from the ARRL. This carries a pretty nice price on it. So that'll be a consolation prize tonight. First consolation prize. Last 5 is 5580. Yeah, I have one. Okay. And he had 2 tickets here. 5580. He said he didn't want it. Next number is 5579. I need another. I'm not doing it. Okay, standby number is 5548. 5548 for a 6-volume set of handbook. Nope. Oh, here we go. We have a winner. Okay, I need one more. Yes. I know. There you go. Thank you. And this is donated by Delvin. We have one more. 5600. 5600 for another Bruce. All right. Thank you, sir. Go. Okay. Thank you all very much. And for all the new folks that are here tonight, we do the 50-50 every month. Half of the money goes to the winner, and the other half goes to the club's prize fund. Thank you. We will.